Bailey, you're ready to be annoyed. I'm already annoyed, and I haven't even. The list is done. I'm annoyed. I hate this list. It's the list I hate the most so far. I don't like anything about it. I just don't like it. I've done something we've never done for a list. I have it broken into tiers. I mean, it's still 1 through 32, but I have it chunked out in tiers because I think there are some clear tier breaks. I hate this list. I hate it. I sat with it for, I don't know, an hour and a half, 90 minutes last night, just trying to work. I hate it. I hate it. I think this is the list where we're going to have the most changes because I just think we're going to be all over the place. Now, what I don't disagree with is the teams that are going to be the bottom two. Like, I wonder if you put who I would at number one. Did you put the San Francisco 49ers at number one? Because they're the team at number one. Can't believe you would overrate CJ Mosley like that. I do not have the Jets very high on this list. What's up, Philip? Hello, Tate. Hey, Janelle. Heldy, Sam, Bailey. Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great start to their day. We continue our positional ranking series, and I think we get out of a stretch here where I don't want to say like I'm uncomfortable because we're still doing the lists, and you know I've done research and I watch football and I know what I'm doing. Just positions that I'm not like as strong in would be linebacker play and just linebackers in general. And so this is kind of the end of a stretch because corners and safeties I feel really good about. I feel really good about those lists. So we'll see. We'll see how this list turns out. And I think we're going to have a lot of conversation. And I have a surprise for everybody. I have a surprise for everybody at the end of the show, in the post show that I will share with everybody. So you're going to want to stick around for the post show because I have a surprise that I worked on yesterday that I think you will all really, really enjoy. So that's something to look forward to for the post show at the end of the show. But we'll get into it here. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Is that what today is? Today is a Wednesday, yes. Taylor B promises to not bully me today. I appreciate the promise, Taylor. Good morning to you as well. Yeah, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do the list here. I don't love it. There's going to be debates. I think the best thing we do is we read the list and then we go through and debate. And I think as normal, we try to lock in as many teams as we can early to just kind of get us in a place where we have a limited amount of debate. But who knows? We will go through it. And it should be a lot of fun. So let's get this show started. I'm going to hit the record button for the podcast audience and we will start our linebacker room positional rankings. And welcome in to the Wednesday edition of the TDN Daily podcast. Chris Schubert back with you here once again on the show. Hope everybody is having a great start to their Wednesday. We've got another fun one for you here today on the show. We are back into our positional rankings series, the linebacker rooms. The next group up, we've got two more defensive groups after this with corners and safeties, and we are getting closer to the end of what has been a very, very fun series for us here at the TDN Daily Show. We have really enjoyed the banter, putting together the list, the conversation, the shows themselves. This has just been a wild ride, and it has exceeded my expectations for what this was going to look like when we embarked on this journey a few short weeks ago. So this has been a lot of fun, and I think the fun is going to continue here today because I said it in the pre-show. I said it in the TDN Premium Discord. I hate the list. Hate everything about this list. I hated doing the list. Hate the way the list looks. Hate the way that we're probably going to change it 47 times between now and the end of the show. Hate every single thing about the list. And I've done something that I have never done in doing these lists. I have it tiered. I have it segmented out. So like when I felt that there was a really, really clear tier break, I did the tier break. I still have it 1 through 32, but there are big spaces in between where teams sit. And so I think that might have helped me. It might also cause more problems because you might not just get upset at the 1 through 32, but you might get upset at the tiers when we go to the full screen and you guys can actually see the list in all of its glory. So okay, I think in order for us for this to be educational, for this to be informative, for this to be everything we want it to be here today on the show. And hello to the live YouTube chat that is hanging out with us and is ready. There have been promises to not bully me from some people in the chat. Other people in the chat have not been willing to make that promise. So this is going to be a wild roller coaster ride of emotions here on the show for the live YouTube chat. I think the best way we can attack this is I'm going to read it to you in the chunks that I have it. And if we feel comfortable with the chunks, we lock in the chunks. Because I think if not, this is going to get chaotic. We're going to be all over the place because I think this really, truly is the position so far that teams can move all over the place. And so that's the way we're going to try to start this. If it devolves into chaos, then so be it. Colton says the Cardinals bottom tier, but not worst. I'm happy. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised where I have the Arizona Cardinals, Colton. We have a chunk of 3 at the top. Our top tier. We have the San Francisco 49ers at number 1. We have the Seattle Seahawks at number 2. And we have the Carolina Panthers at number 3. So our top tier, and I think there's a tier break here after this group. So our top 3 teams in order are the San Francisco 49ers 1, the Seattle Seahawks 2, and the Carolina Panthers 3. And I think there is a tier break after this. I think you look at Warner and Greenlaw, you could probably make that a tier in and of itself in San Francisco. But I think Wagner and Brooks is a good enough combo, and I think Thompson and Frankie Louvu is a good enough combo in Carolina to keep these teams close together. So I have San Francisco 1, Seattle 2, Carolina 3. If there are any complaints about a team not being in that top 3, this is where we could have it out. But I have this as a tier, and then I have a break, and then these are the next 4 teams that are on this list. Colton, we're only talking about off-ball linebackers. So inside linebackers, middle linebackers, just non-pass rush players at this position. Ravens and Bears hate is real. Tate, I've got the Bears at number 4. So just before you get the pitchforks out and ready to go, the Bears are number 4. There is nobody that loves the Baltimore Ravens group more than I do. I'm a Patrick Queen stan. But I think the jury is still out on what kind of player Patrick Queen can be. And so I think they're ranked pretty appropriately. But we have the Bears at 4. We have the Saints at 5. We have the Chiefs at 6. The Dolphins at 7. And then that's the end of this tier. We got 4 teams in this bucket. And then to round out the top 10, we have another tier inside the top 10. We have the Indianapolis Colts 8. We have the Green Bay Packers 9. And then we have those Baltimore Ravens 10 to close out the top 10. So that is the way the top 10 sets up. 3 tiers. San Francisco, Seattle, Carolina in the top tier. The second tier, the Bears, Saints, Chiefs, and Dolphins, 4 through 7. And then we've got the Colts, Packers, and Ravens. And so I think we're going to stop the list right here, 1 through 10. And we're going to have these debates. We're going to hash it out right now. If there's a team that we want to move up, if there's a team that's not inside the top 10 that people think need to get in the top 10, we are going to have these debates right now. So I pass the baton over to you here in the YouTube chat for you to be able to get your gripes out now, to get the pitchforks out. I know Bailey's already upset with me because I only have the Bears 4 probably. But you can go ahead and get the pitchforks out now. Let's have this out so we can lock in the top 10. Because again, I think if we don't start locking stuff in, this is going to get chaotic. This was a group that was very, very hard to put together. And I have 2 tiers at the back that are at least 7 or 8 teams deep. And so that's where I think a lot of the debate is going to be because of the fluidity of those tiers. And so that's kind of where I want to spend a lot of the time because we normally do spend a lot of time on this show debating the middle tiers. And so that's what I want to do. So if there are any major objections to what we have in the top 10, I'd like to hear them out right now. I think if there were some conversations, Baltimore moving up is one that we could have. The Colts are a team that I feel like I'm lower on than I probably want to be at 8, but like, I don't know. I think they're a little bit behind the depth that like Miami and Kansas City and I think New Orleans has. Bailey says, I think the Bears are better than the Panthers duo, but everything is within the correct spot. I would have the Colts higher, but that's the biggest disagreement I have. Tate says Ravens for real should go up. Smith is great. Queen looks good. And Simpson is great depth potential. Again, we view Trenton Simpson as a net neutral for this conversation, but you certainly think if Trenton Simpson can pan out to the scouting report, this is a group that's going to be moving up this board very, very quickly. People love the tier structure as well. I think you'd have to watch every game from the Colts to know it's deeper than you'd think. I mean, hell, you obviously understand that I can't watch every single game of every single team. And so I have to kind of do this based off of a 30,000-foot view at times with limited information. So people love the tiers. People love the teams that are in the tiers. There are some potential complaints to move Indy and Baltimore up. Now, I would ask the question to the chat, which teams do we want to move down? I mean, I can obviously move the Ravens up 1 spot in front of the Packers and move them up to 9. But then you start to we have them in separate tiers. So then we would have to decide that the Colts and the Ravens would need to move into another tier and teams would need to move out. And the teams we would be debating, I think, are the Saints, Chiefs, and Dolphins because I think the Bears, I have them at number 4. The Bears are really close to being in that top tier. The thing that gives me pause about moving them into the top tier is Edwards and Edmonds are players that they just signed in free agency and they gave a lot of money to, right? I haven't seen it work together yet. And so that would be the warning sign that I would have. Talent-wise, they got two really good players. They spent a lot of money, and normally that's not a position you spend a lot of money on. And so my concern would be is going into this season is we have not seen these two guys play together. And so that's really the thing that gives me pause of moving them into the top tier. But we could move them into the top tier if there's enough movement in the chat on that. But that, just so you guys understand my thought process, that is what stopped me from making that top tier 4 teams deep. That was the thing that gave me pause. Philip says the Panthers have a pretty limited linebacker depth. They're a good candidate to get bumped down. Tate says, I'm a Chiefs fan and I love my group, but the Ravens should be right above us. Taylor B says, I wouldn't change the rankings, but the Bears could be in that top tier. Heldy, I think I take Shaq Leonard, Zaire, and EJ Speed above Miami and New Orleans, but it's not a big deal. Give me one top tier unit. You know what, Bailey? I'll give you a top tier unit. You got a top tier unit. The Chicago Bears are moving into the top tier. They're staying at 4 though, but they're moving into the top tier. There you go, Bailey. They're in there. I think the Carolina and the Bears are close. And you would be betting on Edwards and Edmonds coming in and gelling and it working right away. That would be what you would be betting on. And if you wanted to personally put the Bears above the Panthers because of that fact, then I'm good with that. But for me personally, I want to see it a little bit more. I want to see them play as a group. And so I put them at 4. And I think we'd be splitting hairs, but if you want to put them at 3, I would totally understand. So now we had a motion from a fan base of a team that's currently on this list to move themselves down. Very rare that we have that. But we have a Chiefs fan in the chat saying, move me down, move my team down a little bit. And I think this is where we can maybe move the Indianapolis Colts up. So let me gel these tiers together. And now we have the Saints, Chiefs, Dolphins, Colts, Packers, and Ravens. I'd love to move the Ravens up. I'm a big fan of Patrick Queen. I'm a Patrick Queen stan. I love him. I thought he had the best year of his career last year. It was really good. I'm going to move them in front of Green Bay. I think Green Bay's got a top 10 group. I think they need to be in the top 10. So I'd love to move the Ravens up. So we've got the Colts and the Ravens at 8 and 9. Miami, Baker, and Long. We got some older players. Man, I like Leonard, Franklin, and Speed more than I like the Dolphins. So we're going to move the Colts up to 7. We have the Ravens at 9. I like this group. I like this tier. I think we're going to gel 2 tiers together and just have it be 2 tiers inside the top 10, 1 through 4, and then 5 through 10. And then the way it would pan out here is you got the Saints 5, the Chiefs 6, the Colts 7, the Dolphins 8, the Ravens 9, the Packers 10. And I think we could make an argument to flip the Ravens and Dolphins and have the Colts 7 and the Ravens 8, and then have the Dolphins 9. And I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna allow the Patrick Queen bias. I put them a little bit lower because I was afraid of my Patrick Queen bias, of how much I love him as a player. But I'm gonna move them up, and I think that's as high as I feel comfortable moving those teams. So I have the Colts at 7, the Ravens at 8, and our top 10 is the Saints, the Chiefs, the Colts, the Ravens, the Dolphins, and the Packers. And we're going to lock in the top 10 because I have not seen any sort of inclination that there's a team that we're missing here inside the top 10. So here's what we have in the next tier. It's 11 through 13. It is a small 3-team tier. It is the Cincinnati Bengals at 11. It is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 12. And it is the Denver Broncos at 13. It is a very small tier, 11 through 13. And then we get into the trouble spot. The next tier, after 11 through 13, spans 14 through 24. And I will read you all of these teams, and then we can have all of our conversations. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 14. We have the Houston Texans at 15. We have the Arizona Cardinals at 16. We have the Patriots at 17. We have the Bills at 18. We have the Chargers at 19. We have the Browns at 20. The Lions at 21. The Vikings at 22. The Steelers 23, and the Cowboys 24. Teams that I think we could have conversations about moving up would be the Chargers and the Lions. Teams that we could have conversations about moving down, to me, would be the Patriots and maybe the Cardinals. Maybe. But I like Simmons, and they added Kaiser White in free agency. So I like the top end of that group. So those are the next 2 tiers, and that gets us from 11 to 24. But teams that I have kind of earmarked after doing this that I would listen to and maybe potentially want to move up would be the Chargers, who I have at 19, and the Lions at 21. Simmons is playing DB this year. Are they moving him again? Because then they're gonna move. They're gonna if he is playing DB this year, then we're moving them down. They're moving him all over the place. Isaiah Simmons confirms he will be working with the defensive backs moving forward. You know what, Cardinals? I'm sorry, Colton. I tried, but we're moving him down. Because if Simmons is going to be a defensive back, this group not very good. Cardinals are moving down. Then their Cardinals are coming way down. They got to come into like this tier with the Giants. Then they got to come way down. I'm sorry, I hate to do it, but they're going to be in that tier, in the next tier, and then we'll reevaluate them when we get there. Anything else that so I arbitrarily got the Chargers and the Lions up a spot. The Chargers are up to 18, the Lions are up to 19. I'm surprised no one has slandered me having the Texans as a top 16 group, but I feel like the veteran leadership of Kirksey, Perriman are good enough to have them be in this tier, and I feel pretty comfortable with it. Anything egregious here, chat? Anything egregious that we want to discuss? Again, I think teams that I would like to move up would be the Chargers and the Lions. I love Kendricks and Murray, and again, Deion Henley we treat as a net neutral, but I think anyone who's a longtime listener of this show and a longtime follower of the things that I have said about the 2023 draft class, they know how much I love Deion Henley in the draft process. So there's some bias there, but he is a net neutral for this. And I think if he pans out the way I think he will, then this group will go much higher by season's end. But I think as of this moment, it's just Kendricks and Murray that you'd be betting on. And so I'd like to move them up a little bit. I'd also love to move the Lions up a little bit. But I don't know really where their ceilings are. And then New England, they have some guys, but they're a team that I think that we could consider moving down. So those would be the three teams in this tier that I would really, really have debates about if we wanted to. I didn't hear any criticisms with 11 through 13. So I'll lock them in tentatively, but if we want to have a debate, we can. Depth should be a small positive when the rookie is not asked to start. If we aren't counting Jack Campbell as a plus, I don't think the Lions can go any higher. And Bailey, we can't, right? To be intellectually consistent, I think to be in the spirit of this list, we have to view him as a net neutral. And so I think if we were playing in this world where we were counting in what we think rookies could be, I think the Lions shoot up this list because of Jack Campbell. But they've got Anzalone, they've got Rodriguez, and then you're betting on Campbell to kind of be the third. And so for me, this is where I slotted them in. But like looking at it, I feel good about the group, and so I kind of wanted them to be higher. Tuttle says many of these lower teams have promising but unproven young talent. You're going to see that. I mean, that's what Dallas has. At 23, I feel the same about. But yeah, this chunk in particular, 14 through 23, it's just a smorgasbord. Like there's just players all over the place, and so this is the kind of the way it fell out for me. And we'll lock it in. 14 through it's now 23 after moving the Cardinals down. Here's the bottom tier of this group, 24 through 32. We've got the New York Giants at 24. We've got the Arizona Cardinals at 25 after the movement that we had there. The New York Jets at 26. The Washington Commanders at 27. The Atlanta Falcons at 28. The Philadelphia Eagles at 29. The Tennessee Titans at 30. The Las Vegas Raiders at 31. And the Los Angeles Rams at 32. And I will, on behalf of the chat, lock in the Raiders at 31. And the Rams at 32. We are not moving any of those teams. The depth charts for those groups are not very good. Tennessee, we might move up a couple of spots. But that would probably be it for this group. I'm so low on this Jets group. Heldy, I prophesized I am a visionary. Yeah, Heldy, I didn't like this group, man. I'm sorry. I did not like the group. It's probably the weak link so far of what we've done with the Philadelphia Eagles. Taylor B, I'm okay with where Jacksonville is. Foye is solid, and Lloyd and Muma have shown flashes. Yeah, and I think they've got some upside guys, and they're not betting on any really major rookie contributors. They're betting on some year two guys, right? And so that allows them to kind of fit into this 11 through 13 tier. Yeah, Heldy, it's rough. It's the group that I hated the most so far. Yeah, I mean they're letting young guys play. I think that would be the fair benefit to where they're ranked is that there's some high ceiling for them to move up. But okay, 24 through 30 is what we're debating now. The Giants at 24, the Cardinals at 25, the Jets at 26, the Commanders at 27, the Falcons at 28, the Eagles 29, the Titans 30. Bailey, has Quincy Williams not been a standout recently, Chris, for the Jets? I don't follow him as closely as other teams, but I've heard good things. I like Quincy, right? I think Quincy is a very energetic player. I think he brings a lot of energy on Sundays. He brings a lot of boom. When he makes a play, you know about it. You hear it. And it's impactful. Quincy is very boom or bust for me. When he's making those plays, it's awesome, but then he'll go through a lot of stretches where he's out of position. and he's not making those plays. I think that's a big question mark. You've got two safety converts in this group in Sherwood and Nasler-Dean, who are guys that they drafted, who were safeties in college that they're playing at this position. I'm not a fan of C.J. Mosley. I know the dude was a Pro Bowler last year, didn't play like a Pro Bowler. And so I really don't rate this group very, very highly. I think it's the weakest group on the defense. I think it is the group that, other than I think safety, is the group that gives me the most concern on defense for the New York Jets. And so I don't love the group very much. Quincy's the guy with the highest upside. CJ's going to be your veteran leader, but I don't love the group. I think it's the weak link, and I'm surprised they didn't address it more in the draft. And they lost Quan Alexander. They could potentially bring him back, but Quan Alexander was a part of this group a year ago, and he was the guy that I thought had the biggest impact. And if they're able to bring him back, they might move up a couple of spots. They'll probably move into that next tier that we did. But for me, I'm kind of out on this group. Taylor B, my Tennessee #1 pick agenda goes stronger. They're just not very good. I think if you were going to move them, you can move them like 1 or 2 spots. I think they could go to like 28 on this list. And that would be like splitting hairs. I think me having them at 30 and somebody else having them at 28 would be splitting hairs. But yeah, they're not very good. They're not very good at all. So, all right, we'll lock it in. I will share it on the big screen for everybody to see. They can see the tiers one last time, and we can kind of close up shop here. A very, very, part of me thought going in we were going to have a ton of debate on this group, but I'm not surprised that we didn't, because it's a group it's a position in football that I just don't think is as valued as it was in recent years. So, all right, let me get the big board set up. Simmons isn't just working with, he's moving positions. That's why we had to move him. That's why we had to move him off the board. All right, let me get to the full screen for you guys. Let's hope it loads. So here you guys go. Here's the full screen for those watching on YouTube, those in the podcast audience. You're going to want to head over to the YouTube side of things so you can see these lists in full form. Here's our top tier: San Francisco 1, Seattle 2, Carolina 3, Chicago 4. Our next tier inside the top 10: Saints 5, Chiefs 6, Colts 7, Ravens 8, Dolphins 9, Packers 10. Our next tier: Bengals 11, Jags 12, Broncos 13. And then this next big conglomerate of teams: Bucks 14, Texans 15, Patriots 16, Bills 17, Chargers 18, Browns 19, Lions 20, Vikings 21, Steelers 22, Cowboys 23. I'd like to kind of get this Vikings group up a little bit more, but I'm not. I think it'd be splitting hairs. And then the last tier: the Giants 24, Cardinals 25, the Jets 26, the Commanders 27, Falcons 28, Eagles 29, Titans 30, Raiders 31, Rams 32. I like Troy Anderson quite a bit as a player there in Atlanta, but not a great room. Taylor B says, short, easy show since yesterday went crazy. That's fair. We kind of had to balance it out in comparison. Yeah, Janelle, that did go pretty smoothly. I am actually pleasantly surprised of how smooth it went, but it was fun. Again, if you told me ahead of time which list would take the shortest, I think this is one of those lists that would take the shortest. Colton, what about Zaven Collins? Are you listing him at edge? Yeah, that's where I have him for that group. Taylor B, is Levante David enough to give Tampa a bump? Levante David's very good. I mean, okay, we could do this. Would this make everybody feel better? Let me go back to this screen for you guys. I did this. I moved tiers on him. I moved him from being down here. I put him up here into this other tier. Do you want to have them flip with Denver? I still think they're behind Jacksonville. I think you'd be flipping 1, maybe 2 spots. I think if you want to give David the bump and say it allows them to be in this tier, I think that's what we would do. Devin White is he's a rough player. And I think what Levante gives you, I think Devin at times can kind of take away. So I think moving them into this tier is fine, but I think moving them inside this tier would be a little rough. So I think that's more unfair with Levante. But yeah, I'm not surprised at how smooth this list went, because I think if you asked me ahead of time, this is the list that I think doesn't have as much of an impact on a regular basis in the National Football League. Heldy says linebackers are so weird to talk about because only like 10 of them matter. Yeah, like that's kind of the way it pans out. But all right, for those of you listening in the podcast feed, we appreciate it. Please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. We've got more of these coming. Just a couple more positional rankings. Positional rankings to go. We got corners coming up on Friday's show, and we got safeties at the beginning of next week. We're also going to do coaching, and then that'll do it for the positional ranking series. I do have a surprise. for the post-show audience, which is why if you're listening in the podcast feed, you should join us over on the YouTube side of things Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live on the Draft Network YouTube channel. The pre-show, the recording of the TDN Daily podcast, and then the post-show. And I've got a surprise for the post-show audience here today that I think they're all going to enjoy, and I think you would enjoy as well. So you can join us live, or you can catch the VODs underneath the live tab on the Draft Network YouTube channel. So I appreciate everybody making this show a part of their day. I hope everybody has a great rest of their Wednesday. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. Is my guy Taylor B here? Taylor B, are you still here? Is my guy Taylor B still here? You were here. Okay. This is for you. It's for everybody, but you inspired this. So I spent last night while doing the linebacker list, I inputted all of the teams and I inputted all of their rankings so far. Linebackers are not in because I knew we were going to make some changes to the list. So linebackers are going today. And all of their rankings are in of where they stand. And all the way here at the end, we have the running average for where they sit going into 2023. So as this fills out, these numbers will change and we will have a pecking order, but we have this in real time, being put together in real time. So this is something that we can look forward to as we now have put these. And then it's a very cool way to kind of see where a team sits. And so like for Arizona, like you can see that like they're towards the bottom in almost everything. And I'll tell you, a team that's surprising me so far in doing this list, and it's probably because we've hit all of their good positions, is like look at the Browns. The Browns have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 10 groups going in. And so when you do, I just messed up the list. When you do the average for them right now, and I'll sort this group. Let me sort this. And then I gotta zoom out so you guys can see. Gotta zoom out further than that for you to be able to see this. Stand by. So I know it's gonna be tough to see, but Philly right now ranks the highest. Their average ranking is a 4.29. So their average ranking is top 5 in every position. But like look at Cleveland being third right now on the list, right back behind San Francisco at 10.57. Now I expect Cleveland to be dragged down a little bit when we get to like corner and safety and stuff and coaching. So I expect them to go down a little bit, but like a lot of this kind of tracks, right? Like, and so like I don't want this to like be validation for what we're doing, but this kind of feels pretty good when at the bottom of the list we've got these teams. The bottom 5 right now, or the bottom 6, are Arizona, the Rams, the Titans, the Bucks, the Texans, the Bears, and the Panthers. Like that feels pretty good to me of how we feel about teams going into this year, at least how I feel about teams. And at the top, you have Philly and San Francisco 1 and 2. You've got Cincinnati in the top 5, the Chargers in the top 5, the Chiefs in the top 5. You've got Miami and New York above Buffalo. Minnesota's still ranked pretty high. Dallas is so this is actually really cool to me. Some surprises, Atlanta being as high as they are. I think this will balance out here with these next couple of teams. But like, yeah, I think what was really cool was when I did this last night and I put it together, it really, really felt like it was coming together in a way that tracked with how I feel about these teams going into 2023, which is kind of the idea, right? So it felt pretty good to see the numbers kind of bear out this way. And we're going to let the process play out because we've got more to do. We've got 4 more groups, and I have to input the linebackers here today. I can actually do it right now if you guys don't mind watching me do spreadsheet work, and then we can recalibrate the numbers. If you guys have football questions while I do this, please feel free. And then we will. How are you going to do coaches with first-time coaches being included? So Bailey, I think that the way around this is when we do this. What team do I need? I need Seattle next. The way we're going to do that is I'm not just looking at head coaches. I'm looking at entire coaching staffs. And so because of that, like coordinators are going to help. And so if first-time coaches have experienced coordinators, that's going to help. But if you don't, if you have an entire like new staff that are all first-time coordinators, like that's going to hurt you. And I think it should. I think there should be a weight to that. I kind of wish we had ranked the QBs differently. Having a bad backup really hurts Jacksonville. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback conversation again. We've been doing it a lot lately. We've done it a lot in the last 24 hours. And so hopefully by including coordinators, that can help. Tate, Alexander Madison averaged 3.7 and 3.8 yards per carry the past 2 years. Dwayne McBride is plus 10,000 for Offensive Rookie of the Year. How are we feeling about that? Tate, I will answer your question, but I will also tell you that another podcast I host here on the Draft Network YouTube channel, Prospects and Props, we did a series in which we looked at Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates, and we went division by division. So there's a treasure trove of content in which I talk about Rookie of the Year candidates at linebacker position, or at the running back position, and Offensive Rookie of the Year. And so I would not take Dwayne McBride very high. I'm looking for Baltimore. Taylor B, I'm just saying we put a lot of weight into players that possibly won't play more than 10 snaps. Bailey, I would worry about Ty Chandler personally for that, who they apparently like, but I do like McBride. Yeah, I mean, Ty Chandler, I think, currently sits as the backup on the depth chart right now for them going into the season. I need the Miami Dolphins next. Thank you. I need the Green Bay Packers. Where are they? So, yeah, whatever football questions you guys have while I do the spreadsheet, and then we're going to reconfigure the math and see where these teams sit after doing this group. And, like, Cleveland's at 19 now looking at it, so they're going to obviously go down. Their average is going to fall pretty starkly here when we do this. Tampa Bay at 14. Houston at 15. There's Houston. But like there players I'm keeping an eye on for Offensive Rookie of the Year, Tate. I think Zay Flowers is a huge candidate in Baltimore, and I think he's one of the lower rated wide receivers. I think if you'd have to get him now because the price would change if they make this move, and they might not even make this move at this point. But if the Bengals do move on from Joe Mixon, I think Chase Brown is a very likely candidate. Buffalo 17. Who went any of the Chargers? LAC, they're all the way down here. If you're looking for, and clearly I think you're looking for value, right? You're not looking for like Jimmy or Gibbs. You're looking for guys that are outside of the realm of possibility. Pittsburgh is next. Where's Pittsburgh? PIT. Anyone see PIT? There's PIT. Dallas. Where's Dallas? 23. The Giants 24. The Cardinals 25. I think the Jets are 26. I wonder if we could do weighting on each position because having a good linebacker core is not as valuable as a good QB, but I understand that's making everything more complex. It is. And I understand the thought process, and I'll consider it if there's a way that I think we could do it that is in the spirit of what we're trying to do. But that is definitely adding a layer to this. Philly is 29. I missed Cleveland. Cleveland is 19. I missed putting Cleveland in there. Mingo at plus 5,000 feels solid to me. Hate that Panthers wide receiver room. Where do we rank the Panthers wide receiver room? I need Tennessee at 30. This is 32, and this is 31. And then we're going to run this. This needs to be divided by 8 now. And it needs to include J2. And we need to take this and run it all the way down. And now we've got some different numbers, and I will sort. Feels like if Mingo was going to have a good enough season to win it, Bryce would probably be the one to win it. That's the problem, right? That's the problem. Is he's in a situation where if he's going to thrive, that means the quarterback's going to thrive. that's what makes like taking any of the guys in Houston a problem. It's what, it's like why Josh Downs is a problem in Indy. All right, so now looking at this, yeah, Cleveland fell a little bit. Cleveland's fallen out of the top 4. So now after putting the linebackers in, Philly is 1, San Francisco 2, Cincinnati 3, Kansas City 4, Cleveland and the Chargers tied at 5, Miami, Seattle ranked pretty high, Baltimore, Buffalo, Minnesota, New Orleans, the Jets all in this mix as well. And then your bottom 5 teams currently are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your bottom 5 teams currently are the Cardinals, the Rams, the Titans, the Bucks, and the Texans. Those would be the way the groups sit right now. So we will continue to update this list each and every day as we do this, which I'm very, very excited about. And yeah, when I was putting it together last night, I thought this would be a lot of fun to be able to have in the post show for the next couple of shows. Since we've got corners on Friday, safeties on Monday, and coaches on Wednesday. And that is how we'll close out the positional ranking series. But I appreciate all of you being here. Appreciate all of you being a part of the banter. I think the banter will return at its highest form on Friday for the positional rankings, and I hope it returns to its highest form tomorrow with whatever we could potentially be talking about on tomorrow's show. I don't know exactly what it'll be just yet. Somebody will probably suggest something to me, or I'll see a story that'll put us on the map for what we are doing for tomorrow. But again, I appreciate every single one of you being here. There are so many things you could be doing with the middle of your day on a Wednesday, and to see some of the same faces here every single day, it's a lot of fun. And so I appreciate every single one of you being here and every single one of you chatting, being a part of the show, being a part of the conversation, challenging me, pushing me to defend myself on the list. Tate could be sleeping, exactly. There's so many things that you could be doing. But I appreciate every single one of you being here. And we've got 2 more shows this week, and it should be a lot of fun. So I appreciate everybody. Everybody have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.